Hi everyone, and welcome to the Hub Podcast, episode 19. Can't believe we are 19 months in recording, but we are passionate about bringing the experts to you for you to move forward in your business. As you know, the Hub is a subscription offer we offer at Ask Zoe. It's all about business development, but with a core fundamental of what we offer, which is about getting a return on investment within your business activities. So for the month of May, we spoke about lead generation, and we have been networking with Hayden, who you can see on screen and who you'll hear from shortly. Over the past about a year now, hasn't it, Hayden? We've been networking together. And we talk about this topic, I think, every time we meet up, because it's a common question. So the theme of this podcast is Don't Fear Sales. A lot of people get scared at the word sales, but honestly, guys, it's just about having the right conversations. So without further ado, Hayden, do you just want to introduce yourself to our listeners, please?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Hayden from Sales Geek, and our mission, which ties in nicely with this podcast, is to change the way the world perceives sales. We support businesses in a number of ways through sales, whether it's in business or whether it's through training. There's a number of different ways we can support them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And how long have you been at Sales Geek now?
Myself, I've been at Sales Geek just coming up to 12 months in July. Mm-hmm. My history of sales is I've been in sales 20 years, 10 of them as a senior leader. So there's a lot of experience behind what I'm doing.
Yeah. Definitely. And I remember one of the first conversations we had about sales. I think it was just before we went to the Barnsley and Rotherham Chamber Curry Club. I think that's the official kind of meeting we kind of met in on a face-to-face capacity, but met each other through mutual networks and kind of had that one-to-one. And the fear of sales is a common topic. That's the reason we have chosen it as the topic of conversation for the month of May, because we want more people to enjoy sales and break down that barrier. We spoke about it on the last episode with Claire Calholt in a different way about taking action. That for me is what sales is about, taking action in your business and breaking down the barrier. And not fearing the word sales. It's not a scary word, guys, I promise. So Hayden, just explain a little bit more about your background, because I know you for a while and I know you come with 10 years experience. So where did it all begin in the land of sales for Hayden Fox?
Where did it all begin for me? Well, out of school, I actually came through an apprenticeship as an engineer. That's what it was, and I came through as a design engineer, so I've worked at some nice places like Aston Martin, places like that in Birmingham. But put it bluntly, sitting at a computer screen designing all day long bored the heck out of me. I wish I knew about personality profiling then, because I think you'd have told me, yeah, don't go into this job. So from that, then I stayed in the engineering manufacturing environment, but I moved into the sales capacity of it, and through just personal development, I just excelled at what I was doing there and just worked my way through management to corporation world, as it's called, with a lot of travel, a lot of airports, but grew some great, grew the business brilliantly that I was in there at the time, brought on some big accounts. So biggest accounts I grew from nothing to £3.5 million last year. The business grew whilst I was there from 9 million to just short of 15 million. So there were some big growth figures there, and it was all about changing the culture of the business that was in there and bringing it into the modern world of sales, not doing it the same way that it's been done for 20, 30 years that people perceive it should be done.
100%. I mean, my background is corporate, as Hayden knows, and the listeners know that I've been a part of kind of our journey. And we've got very similar experiences in terms of going up that career ladder within the sales, and then obviously going into what we now do now, but obviously very different capacities. But sales are the bloodline of any business, and it is about changing the culture and not being scared of it. I had a trainer called Caroline, and I'll always remember, she always said to me in terms of sales, think about it as money in your pocket. When I was working for corporate, the more money that's in your pocket, the more commission you are making. So don't be scared to ask for this sale.
Yeah.
Make sure you get the sale, because that is cash in your back pocket, not just for obviously the company I was working for. And that really helped shift my own mindset in terms of what sales means for a business, but also what it means for yourself. And that's the reason why I always reference it to the bloodline. So I know we are having many conversations with our clients on the similar topic of being scared of that word sales. So why do you think that is? Because I know we've spoken about objection handling before, and that's a common question that you get, Hayden, within the clients that you work with due to the culture. So why do you think businesses in today's world fear the word sales?
Because of the stereotype that's attached to it. So we've seen things that are out there. Everybody's experienced the double glazing salesman, the car salesman. They've seen the Dell boys on TVs and everything that's out there. And people have this sense that that's the person they need to be as a salesperson. And you see it now, within business roles, business titles, sales, they're pulling out the title, the people's names. You've got the business development managers, you've got the customer experience managers, you've got all of that's coming into it, and they're taking the sales out of it, because people don't want to be seen to be sales. But if you are talking to a client, whatever format it is, you are part of that sales process, and you are selling. Because whether not in operations or in sales, you're still involved in that relationship with the client all the way through. So the fear of it is the fear is they feel they have to be this certain character, rather than just playing on their own strengths, and building on them.
I agree. I've had plenty of conversations, because we've looked at multiple revenue streams in our business in the lockdown to support us. We've asked people to join, the business. We've asked people to take the business, and always the conversation in terms of, would you like the opportunity, is always, oh, I don't do sales, don't. And I'm like, it's just a conversation. It's a simple, we'll really try to make it simple and break it down to reduce that fear. But even within business, a lot of people say to me, well, yes, I'm having the conversations, but I'm not getting the opportunity. And I'll ask the question, have you asked for the business? As simple as, would you like to go ahead with that? And the response will be, I can't just ask that. And I went, well, why not? And we refer back to the things that we've spoken about before with like Mike Hardcastle, who we both know, with empathic selling. And if you are doing everything right and overcoming the objections through conversation, it should be quite easy and feel quite natural and normal to ask for the business by asking them a simple question, would you like to go ahead with this? So when you work with your customers, how do you best suggest businesses or the people that you're working with, Hayden, overcome that? Is there any kind of key nuggets and top tips that you can share on this podcast today with our listeners to maybe give food for thought in their own businesses when it's looking to overcome that fear of sales and objection handling?
One thing that I go through with the clients when I'm working with them around this fear of selling is making sure the strategy and the plans are in place beforehand, in particular the sales process, and the know. So when their customers are going through that pipeline within that process, you know at what stage they're at. So, for example, it may be that you're at the very early stage of that process, which is all about awareness, as you'll be aware, especially about marketing. So that's what a lot of it is about. And when you're at that awareness stage, that is all it is. It's awareness. You're just having a conversation with somebody. You're just trying to find more out about them. They're trying to find out more out about you. You are not actually selling. You are just having a conversation. And this is where we do a lot of it at Sales Geek, where we dig deep into mindset and the psychology of selling. And it's changing that mindset beforehand. And then when you're going through the call, it creates a different environment and a different persona when you're on the call. So you're not coming across as that desperate salesperson who feels that they're nervous, they've got to get through it. Once you know where you're at and what you're doing, it flows. It's a conversation. And if you get that questioning technique right, you get the answers that you want just through conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip as well, because a lot of people think of sales as this massive topic. And yes, it is a massive part of business. It's your bloodline. It's what brings in money, and it helps with so many things: movability, growth, helps with investments, helps with overcoming challenges, movability. Sales gives us opportunity. But just what you've said there, Hayden, about asking the right question, because you've all heard the term, and we've spoken about this before with the previous podcast episodes, nobody likes to be sold to. And that is correct. But actually, if you ask a lot of businesses, you'd be quite surprised they're quite happy to be sold to or find out about opportunities, because if it fits and it solves a problem, why wouldn't they? But it's all about asking the right question to when the right time is to proceed.
That is exactly right, and that's what it's about. I think there's a stat out there, and I can't remember the source, but it was that 13% of customers, when a supplier is talking to him, they actually 30% don't believe that they understand their needs.
Yeah,
and that's because, as you say there, people feel like they need to sell and they need to go pitch.
Yeah,
and it's all we. It's all about them, and the customer sat there going, but what about me? Scenario.
Yeah.
And it's a different attitude, whereas especially if you're not in a relationship with that customer prospect yet and they're not aware of you, the ultimate truth is they don't care about you.
Yeah,
they want to know who you are, what you do, and what you can do for them.
Yeah,
and that's where your questioning comes in.
Yeah, 100%. We was in a conversation with a lady that we met through a networking group who was signalling to us in conversation through just open networking that she needed some support in market research for her investing in exhibition, a part of her marketing strategy next year. But in her sector, I mean, it's in the thousands you would be looking at per event due to the caliber of events. And what I mean by that for our listeners is like large exhibitions, those that are within the Excel or in the NEC in Birmingham, or within the football stadiums within Cardiff, the big events. And what came apparent is they probably did need my services. I know I could help them, but I didn't know that yet. So I invited them to have a conversation. And what transpired was they did need our services, but it wasn't the right time. That right time is this month. So I would just contact them middle of the month, see how things are going, and see if we can book in that one-to-one to talk about a sales conversation. It's got to be in the right time for the customer, because if not, they'll just say no. So you've got to ask the right question.
Massively. You've hit on it there that, until there's a need and a timing in place, we have techniques that we use for that can align questions with it. But until there's a need and the timing's right, then you don't go down that sales path. You're just having a conversation and finding out more information. The one good thing you got out of there, you got a call to action. You knew when there could potentially be a need. So you keep that relationship going, and then when there's a need, that's when you align your solution with it at the exact right time. Yeah,
definitely. And it comes to the ask and the purpose, doesn't it? Because I know we speak about that a lot within our strategy process, starting there as your step one, because it's so important. We should not be investing within our business without asking the right questions first as a customer. But also we need to be making sure that the response and the reply and the questions that we get actually will solve the problem and provide a return on investment. So you've just got to, like Hayden has mentioned on this call, make sure it aligns and make sure that you're leading into that call to action, because that is where, really, as corny as this sounds, guys, the magic happens. That's what brings the conversation into a sales point, so you can decide whether you proceed with that or whether you move on further in that conversation to where the opportunity leads. So Hayden, do you have anything of recent that you can share with us as a case study example, just to give our listeners a bit of food for thought in terms of using this topic and overcoming the fear of sales and the benefit that can have in your business?
Yeah, there was one as recently as this week. So I was working with a client on site for a day, and there was a call planned in the afternoon with a massive opportunity. So it gone from a local opportunity to then go into a larger group, which were national. So it was a lot big for their business. But it was the first time we was going to be speaking with this contact. And when I got there, the person that was selling, which is typical in our environments, was the business owner as well, director, you know, kind of thing that does everything in the business and sales as well as part of it all. And they were starting to get so overwhelmed and quite stressed over this phone call afterwards, later in the day. So when we sat there and we had that conversation about it and went through why that was, it was because of the fear of selling, fearing that they had to get a certain message across in that call and get to the point of the sale. You know, almost, you know, moving it way too fast than what it needed to be. So we went over it, and as you know, as you understand your process, you make micro commitments, and it depends on the size of the business and the type of product that you're doing. There may be some that on one call you can go from that initial conversation to having some commitment at the end, but some of the projects are a lot longer. So we sat down, we planned out the call. The objective was simply awareness. The micro commitment that was after was a further call when they had the right information available, but we've also with another decision maker as well. We went through this, we went through the objectives, and it wasn't a script. Some people feel like they have to have a script. Some people like them, some people don't. I'm not a fan as long as you have your objectives, because it'll come out in the conversation. And then we spoke a lot around active listening. Listening is just as important as asking the questions. Because if you're just running through a list of questions and you're waiting for them to pause just so you can ask another question, you're going to lose them. You're going to come across as that stereotype salesperson.
And silence is golden.
Exactly. And you respond to, you know, the responses that they're getting. And because of this, and we went in and we was more around curiosity. One thing I'll say to anybody, curiosity early on is key. If you forget everything, remember curiosity. Just keep asking open questions and delve deeper into the answers. So eventually you'll get to that root cause, that real thing that'll make a massive impact for that business. So then when you are starting to get to the point further down the line of, you know, putting your products to them and pitching, you can align it with the actual problem that's causing them a massive issue, rather than you just reeling off what you do and not touching any pain points whatsoever. So we worked through that, planned it out, and the call went amazingly well because it was just a conversation. That was it was. There was a lot of questions. The call was for an hour, and after 50 minutes, the prospects on the other side just went, actually, can I understand some more information about your business, because I've just been talking all the time about us, which is exactly what we wanted. So when we was then talking a little bit about what we did, we twisted it so it was all aligned from what we'd got from that first 3 quarters of an hour, and we hit the 2 or 3 main pain points, impact points we've been told about. And straight away then, and there was another question to ask is, when you talking about a call to action, ask your customer prospects what they are. And the one thing we just turned around then and said, so what are the next steps? And they put them in place already, and we agreed things there from them. So we knew exactly what were happening, made their own commitments, and we know where we are for the next stages. And it was a completely different mindset to what it had normally gone in with. It had normally been, I need to be in sales mode, when it wasn't.
And honestly, like, that's where opportunities can come from, and where you can actually find your biggest opportunities is by just having a conversation, but making sure, as you've mentioned, Hayden, and as Claire alluded to, it's about making sure you're taking action to overcome that fear, but also making sure you have the plan in place first, because even if it is a conversation, asking the questions you need to ask in a non-sales way will allow you to revert the question back to the customer to lead into, would you like to go ahead with that? And listeners may be listening to this and thinking, because it's feedback that I get because of our conversion rates always being quite high from being in sales in corporate into our own business. But it's not meant to be easy. We are professionals in our craft, in sales and in marketing. It may sound easy, but the biggest tip that I can share following what Hayden's given is about the script. If you don't have a script and you don't have a plan, just maybe think about that first. You don't have to follow the script in the conversation, but if you've just planned out what you want to ask as your main questions to understand the pain points to ensure your service can solve their problem, because what you don't want to do is obviously go ahead in business and naturally your services don't solve the problem, they need something else. So just plan a little bit. And honestly, practice makes perfect, and it will become easier in time. We are talking quite freely and open about it because we've got backgrounds in it, and we specialise in Hayden's craft, which is sales, and mine, which is market intelligence and marketing. So do practice and do put the plan in place. And would you agree with that, Hayden, about people taking action and putting a bit of practice in when it comes to this within business?
Yeah, massively. I'm a planner. That's what I am. I love doing it, and it's key to everything that you do, because one of the reasons some people end up in that situation as well is because they don't actually have a sales process in place, or they don't quite understand the value proposition. They don't understand the problems they solve for the customers.
Yep.
So that's two areas. There's other things as well, but two key things there. If you have them in place, it makes a massive difference to know where you are in your journey and what you're doing in the conversation you're having. Yeah. And then when you're early on in this and you're trying to overcome that fear, eventually it does become habit and it just becomes part of your culture. Yeah. But initially you have to take that time out beforehand just to go over it again in your mind so it's fresh. Yeah. So it's there, and it's just, I'm a big believer in just having key points in front of you, because you don't want to sound like a robot. That's the last thing you want to. That's the last thing you want to do. Yeah. And also, don't think that you have to get 100% of the information off the call. If you get 80% of what you need, you can normally make the right decision. Yeah. You're not always going to have every single, answer there, in front of you of what you do. Yes. But planning is key. And then that call to action, asking, whether it's for the order or whether it's moving things on to the next stage. You'll never ask for the order unless you've overcome all the objections. Yeah. But if you've asked the right questions at the start, you will understand what them objections could be. Yeah, 100%, because this is, I think, the key way sales and marketing work together, is because on a marketing point of view, that leads into obviously the positioning of your sales and products to lead into sale conversations. If you don't have the right call to action and tell your audience what you want to do next, how do they know? And honestly, the majority of conversation when someone says to me, I'm not getting a return on investment from a social media, I'll take one look at the social media and I'll be like, what? Where is the call to action? What are you asking them to do next? And I mean this in the best way. The majority are lazy when it comes to social media. You've got about less than 3 seconds to capture, with a scroll of the thumb now. So if you don't put a call to action, they will not do anything. They won't think to act. You might get a small minority that does and thinks, oh, I want to inquire, I'll drop them a message. But honestly, the call to action and the simplicity of your posts on telling your audience what you want them to do next leads into that sales funnel that Hayden is talking about, and potential conversations. You've got to be telling them what you want to do next, as much as in your sales and in your marketing as well, by asking the right questions and following them on to that next step. Yeah, just a couple of things I want to touch on there that you mentioned, and one of them, one of us was around the marketing and when you're asked to go in because they aren't getting the ROI. I hear that quite a bit. So often businesses have reached out prior to reaching out to me for sales, and they've gone, right, I need more sales, I'm going to marketing. And then they'll work with agencies who are good agencies, but if the data that they're giving and the information they're giving to the agencies is poor, the response they're only going to get back what they give. Yeah. And once we go through that and they're going, oh, they didn't get ROI on this, and they're blaming other people, then when you sit down and go through it, it's, well, you haven't given them they've gone out and done what you've asked them to do. Yeah. And you've given them that little information. They've ended up trying to throw out this massive net over everybody and hoping somebody bites, rather than giving them that focus. This is where I want to go. This is the people I want to go after. You know, these are the areas where they play. This is the returns I'm wanting. You know, giving them all information, your proposition, it makes a massive difference to that. You know, rather than there's some amazing marketing agencies out there, but as anything, it's only as good as the information you put into it. You know, and what's built around it. And especially if you're not following up, you've got a fear of following up. There's no point getting all the leads.
Yeah, honestly, data is key, guys. And Hayden's just mentioned a fundamental step on the following up, because a lot of people are scared of that because that's sales. But honestly, don't be scared. It's asking for a further conversation. Just keep thinking sales is just about answering the right questions and solving the right problems through a conversation, and take the word sales out of it. You are going to break down that barrier and overcome the fear of sales 100%. And just to give you an example of what Hayden's just shared there, I've literally half an hour ago just had a conversation with somebody in network marketing who said, in terms of networking, I always ask the question, so how can I help you and who do you want to speak to? Because everybody's different, we're all unique, even in network marketing, with the same products and services as the next person in that business. And the gentleman said, everybody. So I just said, can I just give you a bit of a top tip? I know your passion is animals, and I know your products help animals. So what I would be saying in your networking pitch is, hi, I'm X from X, and I would like to speak to private vet surgeries or your local veterinarian to see if there's any opportunities in terms of pitching my products to your customers. Who do you know that's in the veterinarian space? And the reply was, really, I can ask that. I went, yeah, if you look at the stats on how many households have animals, because you're not saying dog, you're not saying cat, you're saying the end product, you're saying the veterinarian. We all know vets. I've got a local vets across my road that I could potentially walk into for him and ask the question. And he just was really thankful and thanked me for that top tip. So it's 100% worthwhile listening and implementing what Hayden has shared today, because it does improve the business. And again, it's about speaking to the right people and knowing who that target audience is. So Hayden, if anyone's listening to this, how would they best get in contact? Is there anything coming up that you want to share with our listeners?
So they can go to the website, which is www.salesgeek.co.uk, which gives a number of information. Or LinkedIn is one of the easiest routes for me. I get quite a few messages through there with LinkedIn. If you just search for Hayden Fox on there and Sales Geek, I'll be on there. Events coming up. Yes, I'm doing an event at the end of June with the Barnsley and Rotherham Chamber, where we'll be looking at accelerating sales in a slowing economy. And I've also got one at the MP Centre on the 21st of June, where we'll be talking around this subject in more depth, which is changing the perception of sales.
Yeah.
There's also, if anybody's interested, there's also a funded cohort training session that's running out of Sheffield from end of June as well. That's funded through Skills Bank. So if anybody's interested in that, just drop me a line on LinkedIn. I can give more information on there as well. Yeah,
definitely do. If anybody does want an introduction to Hayden personally, you can also reach out to me at hello@askzoe.co.uk, and I can put you in touch on email, or again through LinkedIn, through searching my profile, Zoe Wadsworth. So what would be the last top tip takeaway that you want to leave our audience with what we've shared today, Hayden? Talking about target audience, talking about facing the fear and doing it anyway, taking action, breaking down that barrier with sales. What would be the last overall top tip that you can share with our listeners today?
Oh gosh, put me on the spot. Right, okay. It's once you've sat down, it's called big rocks in your week, and people have heard of eat the frog and things like that.
Yeah.
The top tip would be plan it in and do it, and just get it out of the way. Make sure it stays there, and whatever part of that prospecting or that process is in what you're doing, plan it into your diary to make sure you do it. Because some people don't do that and they end up making excuses for not doing what they need to do because they're scared of it. Yeah. Once you start doing it, it just gets easier. Once you get past that first hurdle and you've done it, and you will make mistakes, that will happen. Every salesperson in the world makes mistakes, but you learn from them, and it just gets better and better and better. But top of the list is curiosity. Whenever you're asking them questions, curiosity, question. It's what people love talking about themselves, and the only way you'll do that is to ask them more questions.
Yeah, 100%. And make sure them questions are open as well, by being curious. No closed question, open questions, and they will tell you more. Honestly, everyone loves to talk. Whether you're introverted, extroverted, everybody loves to talk.
Open questions is amazing early on. There's also a place for closed questions later on that are massively effective as well.
Yeah,
that's for another day.
Definitely. But what I'm going to suggest everyone who's listening to this on YouTube, Spotify, Google Play or Apple is to reach out to Hayden, because I know he's got such more to give than we can cover in a 30-minute podcast. But I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you want to know more about the Hub, then please reach out to us at askzoe.co.uk, or you can search the Hub within our services, or reach to me on LinkedIn. Reach out, Zoe Wadsworth, you'll find me, and I can again put them introductions in place to Hayden if you wish. But thanks again, Hayden, on a Friday afternoon, talking about facing the fear and doing it anyway with sales. I really appreciate it, and we will see you next time.
Will do. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, Hayden. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.